Hey everybody, how's it going? It is July 16th, 2024. My name is Melissa, if you haven't met me before, and this is my channel Geeky Witch about all things cross-stitch in my life. I am finally recovered, I think, sleep-wise at least, from the Frogwarts retreat that was this past weekend. It's held every year by Black Needle Society, and it's themed to Hogwarts, Harry Potter, and each year is a new book in the series. So this past weekend was year 5, so Order of the Phoenix, um, and it was a blast. It really was. It is my chaos retreat of the year. I hope that people who this was their first retreat, they don't realize that they realize that all cross stitch retreats are not chaotic like this. Frogwarts is in a league of its own. Most of them are very laid back and everything. Frogwarts is just pure chaos, and I honestly love it. I couldn't do every retreat this way, but I get so excited for Frogwarts every year because it's just bizarre. And it's like, how does this work? How do I manage to get through all of this? How do all of us manage to get through all of this? And yet we do, and we have a blast doing it. So it was a great time. I'm going to show you my progress from Frogwarts. I'm going to show you the year 5 box today. A little bit of how I organize for crazy retreats like this, which is Frogwarts. I don't really do this for other retreats. And things I learned this year, which was awesome because it's one of those things I don't expect to learn new techniques or just new tricks about things in retreats that are just this busy, 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 because I feel like I don't have as much time to talk with people, but yet I did this year, which was awesome, and got a few tips on how to stay organized for things. So I'm going to share those with you in case you are interested in joining Frogwarts next year, or if you're going to be participating in a retreat that has like a lot of challenges and busyness to them. Because who knows, maybe there's some others out there that I'm just not aware of. I'm also going to show you my progress on I Love New England, because that has been my focus project. I can't speak today. Project for the past 6 weeks or so until Frogwarts came up. And just kind of what's going on with that, because I have spent a lot of time picking stitches out lately. It's been great, really, truly. So yeah, that's my plan today. All right, so let's start off. Actually, I'm going to start with I Love New England because that's kind of quick. Frogwarts is going to take up the most of this. So here is this is I Love New England. This is by the Sampler Needlework. It's a store. Don't bother looking for this store. They're not there anymore. This is an out-of-print pattern. And I bought this back in 2003, 2004, something like that. And it has been, if you've followed me for a while, you know this thing has been showing up here and there all over my floss tubes. My goal this year was to put it in the Big E Fair for this year in their cross-stitching category. The Big E is the 6-state New England regional fair. It's held roughly the last 2 weeks of September. It's massive. They have a great crafting section. And I've submitted stuff 3 times. It's been a blast. Just for submitting things, and it was like $5 to enter. I haven't checked on this year's price, but it's very inexpensive to enter your pieces. You get 2 free tickets to the fair, which is a win already. So it's worth doing just to be able to go to the fair. But my goal this year was to be able to get this done and up into the fair. It's not going to happen, but that's okay because I think it's going to wind up being that we can't go to the fair this year anyway. So, hey, it'll be ready for next year. I'm still going to have it as a goal to get it done by the end of 2024, so it's ready to go next year. But so here is where I am. And if you have been following me, you notice that there are some stitches missing. So I'm almost done with the border. I've connected everything up and it actually matched. Yay! But then I noticed when I got down here to the bottom, my leaves were like a count off. And I was like, well, that sucks. But, you know, it's a border and it still fits inside. And then I was counting up here and I'm like, oh, actually, it's pretty balanced. So I'm not going to worry about it. But then I realized that this side and this side didn't match. And my hearts on this side were off by a row. Normally it wouldn't matter, but then when I stood back from it, I absolutely could see it. So, thankfully, this side, I only had to about here done. Let me put this up a bit. I only had about to here done on the details. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be happy if it doesn't match. This is going to bother me. It is supposed to match. So let me fix it. This side is already done, so we're going to match it to this side. So I picked out everything that I had done on this side. And then what I did, if you know, I have a whole ton of strings hanging off of this. And that's because I ran a guide string from each of these hearts over here so that I can make sure that I match up each of these hearts that go down so that they are even. And then from there, I will put all the leaves in so that visually the big things match. If I have a couple of miscounts here and there along the leaves, doesn't bother me, but those big motifs are going to bother me. So that's where I'm at. The good thing is, of course, that, hey, I've got it all the way down to the bottom border. It is in great shape to get done this year. After picking stitches out, of course, I was just like, I need a break. I don't want to deal with this for a few days. And then Frogwarts came in. So I was like, okay, good. There's my break. So I will probably, my plan is I'm going to stitch on this again for the Olympics. And I'm going to stick to, normally I do rotations where I'll just see how many pieces I can get through during the Olympics and I kind of go crazy. This year my plan is I'm going to just stick to this. See how much I can get done during the Olympic Games while I'm watching whatever I'm watching that evening and see how far I can get. But this is still, it's on track for an easy finish by the end of the year. And once you see how much I did on the Frogwarts Year 5 piece, you will totally agree because I think I stitched more in the last 2 weeks on Frogwarts than I have left on total stitches for this piece. So there is this. I am doing this on 32 count antique white linen with the called for DMC colors. There's like 7 colors. This piece is out of print. I have had a couple of people asking me if they can have my pattern after I'm done with it. So mine is already taken, unfortunately. And I don't know where you can get it if you are interested in it, because this thing's probably 15 years out of print. And even when it was, I think it was a local print run. So I don't know. If I ever find out if there's copies floating around somewhere, I will definitely let folks know because it is gorgeous stitched up and I can't wait to have this thing on my wall. Okay, so Frogwarts, the big part of today's presentation. So Frogwarts this year was this past weekend. It started on Wednesday night and lasted until Sunday night. As in years past, they released the pattern digitally a couple of weeks in advance for those who wanted to try to do the entire piece by the end of the retreat. And there is a whole lot of stitching in this piece, and I am astounded by the number of people who are able to do this. I was astounded that I almost got there. This was, pay no attention to the typo on the top of the pattern. This is year 5. Excuse me. Even though it says year 4, this is genuinely year 5. So this is the entire pattern. It's really, really cute. Fits everything from the 5th movie. Oh, I'm gonna cough again. Sorry, allergies. And this is what I managed to get done between the 30th and the end of Sunday night. I didn't quite get there, but I got darn close. And this is probably the fastest stitching, here's the, that I have ever done in my life. And now I have, last year I started year 4, I think right at the beginning of the retreat, and that you can see how far I got during the retreat. So starting it when they first released the pattern absolutely did make a difference. I now have things where I know some techniques that I want to try for next year if I'm going to be insane enough, and life is allowing me to be able to do the entire pattern, because I think I could actually. I just need to change the way I focus on this. So the 2 things I learned that I need to do to start off is I really need to focus on all the little motifs and not worry quite as much with the fill-in as I did. I was setting, like I set this up to fill in, and I was starting to set up Grop, who's Hagrid's brother. It looks like a gigantic Dobby, but it's actually Grop. I was setting him up, but didn't quite get there. But I did have the Thestral set up for fill-in. That worked great. And I focused too much on filling in Grimmauld Place before the retreat, where I really shouldn't have. So I need to just get these outlines ready to go for fill-ins during all of the challenges that they have. And I need to get this over 1 wording done before the retreat. That hung me up, because not only is mine over 1, but I'm stitching on 40 count. So 40 count over 1 is challenging at the best of times. And I almost got there. I only have the word end to finish, which I'll be doing probably tonight after this, but I wanted to have a true representation of what I got done during the retreat. But I'm happy. I'm really happy. I got a lot done. It's the most stitching I've ever done in two weeks. And yeah. So my plan is that, because you get rewards for projects you finish during retreats, is before next year's retreat, obviously the word end is going to get finished. I'm going to get the rest of this outlined. I'll probably fill this in all the way, but then I'm going to leave Grop to do during the retreat next year, so that that can be counted as a finish for next year. And I might try to move year 4 forward so I can do the same thing. We'll see. It all depends on how much I want to focus on the year 6 pattern next year, and, you know, call it a day. But I've got a whole year to plan for that, so we'll get there when we get there. So, yep, that's my stitching, and that has been the bulk of my stitching, I would say, since you last saw me, where stitches actually physically went into a project as opposed to out of a project, since I last updated in May. There you go. And who knows, maybe I'll just get an itch and I'll want to finish it and just have the finish for the year. I might. We'll see. I have no rules. So, the things that okay, so one thing with Frogwarts that I've always done is, it's a busy retreat. There's a lot of 1 hour long block stitch challenges where they give you a word or, some sort of a theme to try to match your stitching to. And you get a point for each 25 stitches if you're matching the theme. If you're not matching the theme and you're just stitching to get as many stitches in as possible, it's a point for every 50 stitches. It felt like there were a lot more penalty stitches if you were stitching on year 5 this year, but that just could be me. I don't know. So I felt like I was fighting against that a little bit. But, so you've got a ton of those. There's like 24 of those, roughly, for the entire 5-day period. They have stitch dives, which I've talked about in years past, where they give you a list of 20 items. Sometimes it's actual words, sometimes it's motifs, something to jog your memory on that theme. You've got 30 minutes to dig through your stash and find items that match it and get your photos of all those things uploaded. And then you have a few minutes afterwards to document what is what and how it matches and how it relates. And I had a blast. I didn't do all of them this year. I normally do. But again, I was focused on stitching this year. So I did, I think, 3 out of the 7. I tried a digital dive for the first time this year. It kind of confused me a little bit. It wasn't really my thing. I like digging through my own stash better, so I don't know if I'll do those next year or not. They also do a stitch along with the movies, and they'll have like little pop-up, send a emoji or whatever theme to, we're all raising our wands at the end of year 6, light up your wand, that kind of thing. And so you just, put an emoji or a GIF in or whatever. And those pop up throughout. They run the entire set of movies. So there's like 2 a day. So it's fun. You get to watch them once a year and keep them on in the background. They're good background noise for stitching. Let's see, what else do we have that I participated in? Just looking at my planner here, which I'm going to show you in a moment. Other than that, it's just, the lives and chatting with folks, and they had Zoom stitch rooms open. I met a few of the people that were in my group this year. I was a transfer student from Ravenclaw to Gryffindor, which feels weird a little bit because I'm so used to being a Ravenclaw, but I had a blast in the Gryffindor group I was in. I'm going to request to stay there next year, I think. So, yeah, there was that. So here's how I organize for the retreat. I took a whole week off of work. So I am a planner person, as those who have known me for a while know. And so I used my daily planner, and I highlighted heavily with what I was doing, including, hey, look, I'm going to be doing chores the day before everything started. So clothes themes, the stitch alongs with the cues, stash dives where everything was. I did manage to get a little bit of time in with my local stitching group on Zoom on Thursday, and it continues. And with my goals of what I was going to try to focus on for each of the days, but that went out the window. It really went out the window. I think I stuck to that about half of the time. But yeah, so it went pretty well to keep it organized like this and color coded. The last day on Sunday, it's just like stitch challenges back to back to back to back. I was so burned out. I think I only tried to start half of them, and I don't think I got 300 stitches the entire day on Sunday. My brain was just like, what's a stitch? I can't do this anymore. So I need to plan for that a little bit better. But by that time I was like, I know I'm not going to get it done. And it's like, just chill out, relax, enjoy the retreat. Don't kill yourself. Just have some fun and not worry about this. So this is my main way of organizing. A kind soul on the group every year, or actually a couple of different folks because they changed them for different time zones, created little cards for your floss for each of the stitching prompts, because you have to count how many stitches you got, and to prove you did them during the hour, you get a password. A lot of people in Facebook groups are probably used to these passwords for challenging. You know, when you started and ended, some people were putting their stitch counts there. I didn't. I just do it for the hour. And then how many stitches I got. You can see they kind of start dying off. I started off well, though. But there's one of those for each of the challenges, so I cut them out and kept them in my little pouch here to keep them together. One thing I learned this year was a lot of people recommended keeping multiple needles threaded for those hours. I'd never done that before. So, and it honestly increased my stitching by probably 50 to 70 stitches during the early days. It really worked well. So it is something I would highly recommend to anybody who's trying to do like time challenges. Keep needles threaded, keep them together. I think I got through about 4 thread lengths an hour, and I usually stitch like 18-inch thread lengths. I think I kept about 3 extra flossed than that at any given time, just in case something got screwed up and I needed to switch to something else, just so I had something else ready to go. So I, you know, threaded up needles. A lot of the time, if I was doing filling, obviously it was 2 or 3 of the same color, or it could be if I knew that I was going to be doing a couple of different things in an area, you know, just get those up. I usually kept a couple of ones that were black because little pop-ups of black would show up, one of white, that kind of stuff. I kept everything in a pin cushion that was easy to find and easy to see. In my case, it is a pin cushion that I hadn't even used that often. I got it many, many years ago at I want to say it was a Stitcher's Hideaway retreat that this came from. And it's just a little gardening glove that's been filled with the beads for, you know, for a pin cushion, and then just sewn. And that's it. And it's a really good pin cushion. The only downside is I tend to use petite needles, so I know I lost at least a couple. They're floating around in there now somewhere. They might show up some year at some other point. But yeah, so keep yourself a handy dandy little pin cushion with your needles all ready to go, and you're there. Of course, keep a pair of scissors right next to you, also very handy. Highlighter, because some people work off of Pattern Keeper, which is awesome. I am old school. I've never used Pattern Keeper. I honestly probably should, but mentally my view is that I try to use cross stitch as a way to get away from my digital devices as much as I can. So I generally like paper ones, and I do everything that way. One thing I was noticing this year, and another thing that I learned about, was about halfway through Saturday, my fingers were getting sore. I had stabbed myself so many times in my left hand from working two-handed and just poking myself, that I was feeling like I was testing again for my the diabetes testing when I was pregnant. I have so many little spots on my fingertips right now. It's bad. And I was like, I need a thimble. I've never needed a thimble before. Now I know why they use thimbles when they're doing sewing by hand so often. And one of the girls in my group goes, oh, well, they sell, you know, like little sticky pads that you can use just, you know, because it's so awkward to put like a Band-Aid over your fingertips when you're trying to stitch, because you really need that touch sense. She's like, oh, no, they make teeny tiny ones that you can use just to put right where you would poke. And I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. So I ordered them. And of course, they came on Monday after the retreat ended. But So those of you who are looking for portable thimbles where you're, you know, instead of worrying about losing an actual physical thimble, or that your fingers don't fit an actual physical thimble, one of them recommended this, which is Thimblet, and they're literally little sticky pads that you just put on the pads of your fingers. I bought these on Amazon. This pack costs about $9, give or take $1. You know, and this has like 64, so I'm not going to use these all the time, but for a retreat like this, perfect, right? So I'll be giving these a try. I will let you know how they work, but considering that I did wind up with Band-Aids on my fingers, I can't imagine I'm not going to like this. Because I can handle the Band-Aid, but then it just starts getting fuzzy and gross and yeah. So yeah, Thimblet for if you need stuff for your fingers during fast stitching. Highly recommended. Let's see, was there anything else that there was a ton of gorgeous stuff for stash that they were showing as they were doing prizes. I have things that I want to buy. It's on my thinking about it list, so if and when I order them, I will show you. I did win 2 charts, so when those arrive at some point after the poor ladies at Black Needle Society are able to get through all of their craziness for July, because I think they have another in-person retreat coming up like super fast. I'll show those to you, probably my next Flosstube video. And I think that's it before I get to the box. So let's see. Alright, so box time. So the box this year was super cute. It came looking like a little trunk. Very, very cool. And we have a Weasley is Our King big tote bag in the same style as all the project bags. This is awesome. I honestly am debating whether I put my chatelaine in something like this instead of a project bag, because it just has so much stuff attached, and then I could keep the binder that has all the charts in with it. But I love it. So, so cute. And handy. Because that's like a good size for if I don't want to bring one of the bigger Black Needle bags. This is an easy port around for like a day trip for stitching. Next thing we have is the annual coffee mug. Let me get the box open here because I've been keeping it in there. I don't have the year 1 mug because I did not attend that retreat, so I don't have a full set, but the ones I have, I love them. This is the year 5 mug. These are dishwasher safe, which I love. Actually, I'm drinking out of the year 4 mug today because this one is the big button on your Keurig to fill these. So it's a double cup of coffee, which is awesome. They are very handy for Monday mornings when I'm working from home, we'll put it that way. Perfect size coffee mugs for me. And they have like, you know how coffee mugs you need to have like a proper handle, that it just has to be a cozy handle? This is a good one for me, because this is how I like to hold a coffee cup, with my pinky down under it. So it works for me. Next up is the annual needle minder. And this year we have a Gringotts 1 galleon coin. Isn't that pretty? I really like their bigger needle minders, by the way. The chocolate frog from year 1 tends to pop off a bit more because it's a really small magnet. But these guys with these big magnets, they don't move. You put them on your piece and they do not move. So they are awesome. Okay, next up we have a couple of project bag zipper pulls. So we have, they're both from, if you're familiar with the movies, there is the black family tree on one of the walls in Grimwald Place. And so we have Bellatrix Lestrange's image from it. And then we have the blacked out Sirius Black. Very nice for projects. And when I have, what I do, because I tend to have a lot of projects that stay long term, is then I just put a little piece of washi tape on the back and label what project it is. Because otherwise I put some sort of a tag with the name of the project so that I can quickly ID it from the side and not have to pull every bag out and see what I put in it. All right, next off we have Luna Lovegood's radish earrings. I'm totally wearing these to work and seeing what my boss says. She knows that I'm weird, so it'll probably go off like everything else with her going, "What are you doing?" And since I work in insurance, kind of pushing that boundary of what is and isn't work attire is always fun. Okay, let's see. We have, excuse me, the Valentine Blend Tea for your romantic tea. Strawberry, rose hips, hibiscus flower, and rose petals tea, black tea. And it is a loose tea, which for me is fine anyway because I've got plenty of different loose tea pots, but they were kind enough to remember that not everybody does this. So they also included a really nifty loose tea diffuser. And I've never seen this style before, so this was kind of cool. Let me just get it out of the bag so you can see it. So the diffuser looks like, you know, any that you've seen. But then it has a wooden top that just sits on top of your teacup. And I'd never seen that I'm familiar with ones that like dip in and, you know, have like a chain that hangs out of your teacup and whatnot. But the fact that this one just will sit perfectly in your teacup and just steep is awesome. And on the top it says Madame Puttyfoot's Tea and Cakes. Very, very cute. So I look forward to using that with many teas because I have a wonderful selection of tea. In fact, I have a tea party coming up with my local group in like 2 or 3 weeks, so I may bring some of this tea as a tryout for them. And next we have this year's Every Flavor Floss. I love their containers. It's like, I always feel guilty. I don't want to throw out these containers because I just think they're cute. These are always from Color and Cotton. And we have Grass, Plum Tart, which looks very similar to the old purple paint, actually, that's being used in the pattern. We have Popcorn, which has, it looks like entirely white on screen, but there definitely is like just a slight, yeah, it's not coming up on screen. There's like the slight stain of it looking like it's coated with butter, just like popcorn would look. Squash, which is a really pretty pumpkin-y orange. And then Licorice, which is gray, which I'm a little confused by, but that's okay. But still pretty gray. And honestly, all of these colors are really close to being dupes for stuff that's in the patterns, which is kind of cool. So if you run out of anything, you might want to see if you can dupe for the Frogwarts Year patterns. Okay, Next up, I have a sticker, because stickers are always fun, with I Must Not Tell Lies. That's probably going to go into my yearly journal in my Frogwarts post. Next, we have an absolutely gorgeous floss sorter, which you've got to have something umbragey. I was kind of shocked there wasn't more umbragey stuff, but I guess the fifth book does kind of cover quite a bit of ground. So yeah, lots of holes on that one. Very, very pretty. Then we have the Skiving Snacks box with Weasley, and it is a great storage container for notions for your stitching, or if you want to put snacks, you can put snacks. But just lots of little pouches and organizing pockets. Perfect to bring stuff. Folds up really nicely. So a nice thing. I probably honestly will. It might be one of those things that comes with me to retreats, just as for an easy sorter for all of my notions. And we have I haven't unwrapped them yet. Stitching challenges inspired by the Wizarding World. So these basically will have like different things, different topics for you to try to fit your stitching for that week to the challenge. And there's a couple of the girls who are from the Frogwarts retreat who are going to start stitching with these. I might pop in once in a while with them to give it a go. I have another set from a former Black Needles box, and I tried some of them, and they were a lot of fun. So who knows? I may be completely chaotic and shuffle the two together, and just like when I just need some inspiration, pull a card. Pick a card, any card. The pattern, of course, the hard copy pattern was in the box. So there's that. And finally, make sure I have a finally, we have, this is a book caddy, but you could also use this as a project bag. And I'm not sure if I'll use it for books in my backpack or if I'll keep it as a project bag. I'm gonna have to decide that. But so it has the quibbler there on that side, and the advertising. And again, like all of the project bags, they're really nice. They're lined. They're kind of like soft. I have to keep these away from my cats because they think that the Black Needle bags are like the best tuggy toy ever. And a good chunk of mine have like pick holes in them thanks to my little needly friends that live with me. But it was a really good box. Really, probably my favorite box so far from Frogwarts. It was like items that I know I'll use, that it's like, okay, this is cool, and kind of cute, and some of it is like, yay, I got, the mug to keep collecting the set, and all that kind of stuff. So, great box. Everything is stuff I will use in it. Obviously, the pattern I've already used quite a bit, and really, really happy. If you can get into Frogwarts, if you want a retreat where it is just not just sit back and stitch on, whatever, and you just want one that's kind of busy and, there's just a whole ton of stuff going on, and you kind of feel like you're more at a convention than you are at a stitching retreat. It really has more of a convention feel, where you're like going place to place and you have to plan your day and, and have a little more structure to it. Definitely a retreat to try out. Keep an eye on that. The sign-ups, the registrations for it generally are like right after the new year. It's like that first week of January. So you kind of have to keep an eye on it. And then, of course, the retreat is this time of the year. So, highly recommended. But that is what I have to show you today. I'm trying to think if I have anything else. I'm a little scatterbrained today, by the way, just because I'm still recovering from the retreat, but also recovering from my son getting braces yesterday, and that was drama and a half. I had braces. Maybe I've blacked out being that dramatic. I don't know. But he now is bespeckled with yellow rubber bands on them, which is a questionable choice, but his favorite color is yellow. Yeah. So that's it for me for now. I will probably do another update. I'm gonna just be kind to myself, and it'll probably be next month. So expect something from me about this time next month. And until then, have a wonderful time stitching, and I would love to hear from you. So take care, everybody. Bye.